Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Call of Duty Rec League podcast. We've got episode 3 here live on the Twitch channel. This is our third one ready to go. We've got the usual cast with you here, myself being CNK. We've got Jims, we've got Jake, we've got Dapper, and Matty Ice on the production side of things. We got a little bit of things we want to talk about today, starting things out. The CDL. We got the CDL weekend matches. We kind of want to talk about the last couple of weeks, kind of how things are breaking down and everything. But boys, how are we feeling about these matches that just happened?
Well, I'll take it away off the break. I mean, I feel like kind of more of the same, except for LAT has completely fallen off. I feel like LAT and Toronto kind of traded spots for this major. Toronto's been looking absolutely fantastic. LAT not so much, but I feel like otherwise it's been kind of what you expect, besides maybe Seattle being a little rough.
That was going to be my big call out is Seattle.
The Seattle fan calling out
I'm
Seattle.
I'm all aboard on the Vegas Cinderella story right now. So what I need to happen is for LAT to get their crap together, beat the daylights out of Minnesota. Now I need Toronto to beat the brakes out of Minnesota. And I just need Vegas, just to get 3 maps against Seattle, and then we can call it a day.
I mean, yeah, right now the breakdown going into the major really is kind of interesting, and not to mention even like the champs breakdown, right? With how CDL points are currently like set up, right? Obviously, those bottom 3 teams all very close to each other, Boston, and we kind of talked about it a little bit off the Pood, but Seattle is like fairly safe for the most part because basically the only worry they have is if they have the worst major of all time, they place top 12 and somehow Boston, Minnesota, and Legion all place in the top 4. That's where they're like screwed.
Yeah, I'm curious, like how exactly. I think you guys might have been talking about it. I didn't hear. Like, is there a where to find how many points you get for? Because I know there's like some sort of multiplier for when you're at the major. Like the first couple matches are like 10 points, but I think like if you place top 6, you might get like 20 for that match. I'm not 100% sure how it goes, but I mean realistically, if Seattle place last at the major and Vegas and Rocker both place relatively well, it could be dangerous for them.
Seattle, they have to have quite a few things go their way in order for them to, or I guess go against them for them not to qualify. I think the way I broke it down was like Vegas has to place top 3, I think, assuming the gap in points doesn't change between all the current teams right now. I think it's something like Vegas has to place top 4, Rocker have to place top 6, Breach have to place top 8, and then Surge have to lose out, go top 12. Well, I just don't see all of that aligning perfectly.
Not if we're just focusing on Vegas, like getting into the top 8 right now, assuming Vegas loses and then Minnesota wins their first 2 matches, the last 2 matches, I should say, which would put Rocker at 180 and Vegas would stay at 150. So Legion would need 30 points to qualify because they have the tiebreaker over Rocker. I think they're 4-0 over Rocker this season, so they win the tiebreaker.
Yeah, so they just need to tie him.
So to get those 30 points, you're right. They do need to get 4th place for that. But if Rocker lose their last 2 matches against Thieves and Toronto, and Vegas beats Seattle, they'll be tied. So if Rocker gets double first rounded, all Vegas needs to do is win 1 match. That's it.
I think to make it even more simple than that, like Vegas just need to outplace Minnesota. That's as simple as it gets. Doesn't matter if one of the teams bomb out. Like Vegas just needs to finish 1 placing ahead.
How hard can that be? It's Minnesota we're talking.
I mean, so
even Minnesota was able to take down Seattle at was it the last major or the major before? But Minnesota always has it in them. It's never chalked with them.
I mean, I feel like they could even be tied going into this major. So if we look at the schedule for the rest of the matches next week, it's like Minnesota's playing Thieves and Toronto, and Vegas is playing Seattle. So right now, I mean, Thieves not been looking so hot. Still, I think probably going to win that match against Minnesota. And then Toronto's looked really good as well, besides against Optic. So it's going to be hard to beat either of those 2 teams if you are Minnesota. But I feel like Seattle is a potential W for Vegas if they play it right.
I totally agree. That's a huge matchup going into Saturday to close
Those
that
are
gap of 30.
the thing is for Rocker against Toronto as well on Sunday. Like that's actually a big matchup for Toronto because currently Toronto is 2-1 on the stage, like for the qualifiers going into the major. So like all of these wins are very impactful for them because they can still get that 2 or like secure the 3 seed. So they're going to be trying about as hard as you can win those ones. So Minnesota's probably going to get tucked.
Looking at the final week, if we're looking at the 4 teams that champs are on the line, including Florida, they're kind of way out there as a little outlier of the last team that can qualify or has a chance to qualify. So if we're just looking at Seattle, Vegas, Seattle. Wait, I already said Seattle. Seattle, Vegas, Boston, and Minnesota. My opinion, I think Vegas has the easiest ride because Seattle has New York and Vegas. I mean, I feel like New York's gonna beat Seattle. I feel like Vegas has a really good shot to beat Seattle. Because I mean, if you just look how Standy and Temp played in that last match,
Yeah.
they're hungry for champs. They are hungry. They're gonna play their hearts out. And if you look at Boston, Boston has FaZe and New York. I'm a little biased here, but I hope FaZe beats the breaks off of Boston and hurt their spirits enough to the point where New York's gonna beat Boston. But
And
uh,
another thing with that though is like FaZe is also still fighting for the 2nd seed going into the major. Like if they get that, they pretty much secure it.
yeah, and I mean I don't care about second seed for the major. I just care
Well,
about
they do though.
champs.
Like they're gonna care about it.
Yeah,
Like
okay, well, yeah, they care. I just care about champs.
right.
And then
But
if you
like
look at
it's just gonna hurt Boston. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, if you look at Minnesota, they got Thieves and Toronto. Thieves, who have been pretty much unstoppable the last 2 majors, except for this online qualifier. And then you got Toronto, and Toronto is just amazing overall. Rocker, it's looking pretty grim for them. I mean, it, it's ugly.
I don't
It's
know.
looking
Like
very ugly.
I feel like when I look at this list though, between like who's 7, 8, and 9 on the CDL points, like well, even like 6, right, with Seattle. Like I definitely feel like Seattle is a team that's gonna be able to come out of the majors, secure their placement for champs, and just secure top 6, right? And make it there. At least minimum secure top 8, right? I think between all the teams that could potentially go up or down, I say all the teams, like it's really between Boston, Minnesota, and Vegas. And I feel like between between Rocker and Breach, I feel like Breach is more likely to be the team that falls out of it. I understand like they made some roster changes and stuff to like get Vivid back on because he's like arguably better than Nero and stuff. Well, I say arguably, but I think he's better. I think that's up to everyone's personal opinion, I guess. But like, Boston is probably the better team, but then, like, Minnesota right now, but Boston also, like, historically, like, this season has been terrible when it comes to, like, consistency and just whenever they need to do something that's clutch at all, they're terrible at it. Whereas this Minnesota team and this Vegas team are just, like, filled with people that you fully expect this time of year to just turn up and be the best team.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They
I feel
got a
like
lot more ice than Boston. But
Right.
I think it was Boston was like 0-8 in Map 5 or something.
Dude.
Where
Yeah,
they
and then they
finally
dropped methods and
2-0.
they
Like,
started winning them, just saying. I'm just
yeah,
messed
yeah.
up.
I think you might be right there, but
I love methods, bro.
they got no ice. They don't know how to clutch up. So we'll see. It also really just depends on what the seedings are going to be like at the major. You know, Boston.
Yeah.
I still think Boston's like a top 6 team that got a really
Should be.
really bad draw at the previous major.
Yeah. They should
Oh,
be.
they got Optic in winners round 1, and then Toronto in losers round 1.
So tough.
You cannot get a worse draw than that.
I feel like the problem is though, there's a couple of teams in this split where they're in the bottom 4 currently. I'm talking about Surge and LAT. Like they're in the bottom 4. And so if you lose winners round 1, you might have to play an absolute demon in losers round 1. You know what I mean? Like 2 teams that are really looking to win. I do feel like for Boston, it's going to be a lot harder for them to not make champs, specifically because they do have a very hard last 2 schedules for the qualifier. But they are already 2-1. So it's going to be a lot harder to not qualify for the major than like Surge. Even though they have 10 more points than them, Surge might be starting in losers. So if they lose one match, like that's no CDL points on the major. And that can very quickly like kind of snowball if things get ugly for them.
I mean, the 4 teams in question literally have to be on their A game because this major is going to be insane. I mean, these teams have to step up.
All right, man. If we get a Rocker versus Legion losers round matchup, that will go so hard.
Bro.
No,
Oh
it
That
my
will
God.
go so hard. I cannot wait for that to be a potential matchup
That would
going
go
into Saturday.
crazy.
You know, Standy's popping off in that match. You're saying.
Oh, I hope so.
Clayster's
I
gonna be
hope so.
chirping.
I don't, right now, though, I just want to point out, like, looking at the major 5 like qualifier standings, like, it's kind of wild because I mean, you got Optic at 4-0, Atlanta at 3-1, but then it's 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-3, 0-3, 0-3. Like, it is like crazy right now because like
And one of
right
those
now some of
0-3
the
teams being thieves.
what's that?
One of those 0-3 teams being
Dude,
thieves.
yeah. But like
What?
it's the exact same as Toronto though, because right, they won the major and then they went 1-4, right? So it's like it's the
Mhm.
exact same situation with that, where like they won the major and now they're like 0-3. They have the potential to win 2 still, but they'll probably somehow only win 1 because you know, Pog. But I'm just like looking at this though, like it's gonna be kind of insane because we're pretty much like guaranteed either Vegas, Rocker, or Seattle is gonna start in losers. We're not
Mhm.
like guaranteed it, but we're pretty much guaranteed one of them is going to. And that's just gonna like completely throw off, like kind of like what Jake was saying. Like potentially you could just like lose and you're done. You don't get any points.
One
And
thing
then your
that could
season's
really
just
throw
over.
things I think one thing that could really throw things through a loop is the Saturday matchup of Florida versus Optic. Because Optic's guaranteed 1 seed, so they might do the same thing they did in week 1 against Vegas, where honestly they should have lost that matchup, and they might be like testing out new maps for their map pool, and Florida might be able to take that one and throw a really weird wrench into the seedings for this major.
Mhm.
I would also like to point out Vegas clutching winners bracket for the first time in the team's history. Last major, there's a chance they can go back to back winners bracket this major too.
Yeah, they
Who
got
was
a
their
tough one. I mean,
qualifier match again?
if they beat
Surge.
Seattle, they
Seattle.
play Seattle
Right.
on Saturday. I mean, if they beat
Yeah.
them, they're 3-2. They're guaranteed winners bracket, but they can't choke it this time. You know, you can't finally get winners bracket and then go 0-2 on the major.
The crazy thing is that's
Drop
such
some
an important
stinkers.
match for both teams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because what's Seattle's second match after that, or the one before that? They play New York before that. Like
New York,
if
New
Seattle
York.
beats New York, they're 2-2, and the match against Vegas determines which one of them is winners and which one of them is losers, which is going
I
to be
love that.
massive. But if Seattle lose to New York, they're losers no matter what. But they could bring Vegas with them.
hmm
I think being in this situation could actually benefit like these bottom 4 teams in the long run. Like obviously, like the season's gonna end for 2 of them, and like
Mhm.
tough scenes, but or maybe only only like one of them. But
Right.
my point being is like having this high stakes this late into the season, you got to think it's like putting these teams like over the top, when it comes to like they're really putting in that extra foot forward to get better because they know how serious this moment is. And you got to imagine like maybe not all of them, but some of those top 5 teams that have already qualified, maybe like sitting back a little bit for like this week and like just being like, all right, we qualified, we're good. But these teams are really like trying to gun for these final spots for champs, and champs is only around the corner. It's only a month away. It could really be helpful to be, so high octane going into this stage of the season.
I'd like to answer Scap's question in chat. Yes, 100% yes.
No, Optics hardpoint is still better.
Shush.
Dude. This is such a tough one, bro. Like, because like Optic is like for sure for sure the second major in a row is like the team you're looking at is like, well, they should win, right? But like their pool is just not great. Like their map pool, like it like every single time they make it to finals, they like it just kind of shows, and it ends up just being a problem. Like if they can make it through winners to where they'll get like a slight like veto advantage, what they get like a 2 map advantage, like veto wise, right? In finals, like that's probably going to be what they need to like try to take a victory. But if they go through losers again, I feel like they're just going to run into the same problems they always have. If they play a Toronto or a FaZe or even a Thieves, Thieves obviously wouldn't make it through winners, but you know what I mean? Like if they play one of those teams, like they're going to run into issues when it comes to maps.
I think regardless, has a one seed in qualifiers ever won a major?
No.
I really don't think it's ever happened. So no one
It had
knows
to
what
have
the heck is
happened.
gonna happen.
In Cold War, it had to have happened.
Oh, if we're talking
Are you
about
talking about this game?
No,
Or Cold War, or all time?
ever. In
Then
CDL
yes,
era
yes.
has a one seed ever came in and won the major.
Yes. FaZe and Cold War.
Yeah, I'm sure FaZe a couple times in Cold War, but other than that,
Major
like
one.
it is kind of a toss up on who's going to take home these majors. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, this is
Yeah,
such a big major.
these are the losers bracket. Like Seattle can always get hot. Like Ultra's up there, Optic's up there, but can Optic close out a grand final this time around?
Right. I think if they go through winners, I think they can, is all I'm saying. Like the
I think-
problem is they keep running it through losers, which is just not like for them, it's not gonna work.
FaZe will just if FaZe plays Optic in a grand final, they're not beating them, just like they haven't this entire year.
Right.
So I think FaZe is probably going to finish like top 3 again. And then there's going to be some like wild cards, second
I'm
place.
sure like
Now,
FaZe
see-
and Optic will end up playing in like losers or some crazy thing like that. And then just like
What needs to happen is, let me look at these points. Okay, so FaZe is 15 CDL points ahead of Optic, like overall right now. So what
Yeah.
needs to happen is FaZe get top 3, then Optic wins this major. So Optic will be first seed going into the champs. That way they'll lose. And then that'll down
That's
the path
comedy, bro.
for FaZe
I mean,
to win the major.
I don't know, but just like even just talking about like CDL points or not, like this major is so important for a lot of these teams because a
Mhm.
couple of these teams are already looking at like what their rosters are going to be next season, right? Like you look at a
True.
team like Boston's not going to be this roster next season, and it's like, and the players on the team know that. Like everyone's kind of like fighting for maybe not necessarily a spot in the CDL because all those players probably deserve a spot in the CDL, but you know what I mean. Like a lot of these players are fighting for maybe a spot in the league or maybe a spot on a better team or a worse team. Like you know what I mean. Like it's going to be kind of interesting. But then there's some teams where like you talk about like a Toronto and Atlanta and Optic, where like for the most part, 3/4 of those every single one of those rosters is like where we're gonna be here next season. Like, you know?
No,
It's
I
just
mean, so 3/4 of those rosters, sure, but I think every single team that has a top sub on their roster is they're all playing for their spot right now.
yeah, I mean,
Like Pred's coming,
yeah.
and
And
I don't
the
think
thing
it's
is though, like what teams can afford Pred? Like if you really look at it, like Optic can afford Pred, Atlanta can afford Pred, Toronto can probably afford Pred because of the way they're like funding and stuff. work.
LAT might go for him.
LA Thieves is
I'm
the
thinking
team that I keep saying is
LAT,
who I think
George.
they're gonna grab because like if Optic comes out at champs and they place like say they get second again, right? Say they win this major and they get second at champs or third at champs. I actually don't think they're gonna change because the players themselves probably aren't gonna want to make a change. And
Mhm.
like historically, the org isn't gonna force them to change. Now it's a little bit different that Hastro's like in charge of everything versus Hex being in charge of everything. But for the most part, I feel like if
Mm,
that team wins this major, regardless, they're probably gonna stick. So
Pretty sure
like
Hex is literally the CEO. Hastro stepped away. I don't think Hastro makes
well
any
well the thing
decisions.
is Envy still has like control over Optic though. Like Optic may be like the brand name, but Envy still has total control over everything that happens.
That's true.
So
So chief
if
gaming officer.
Hex is literally the CEO,
But-
though.
yeah, but he's the CEO of Optic. Like Hastro is the chief gaming officer or whatever of the parent company. Like it's a completely different ballgame.
Thought Hastro stepped away completely.
I maybe. I guess maybe.
Maybe.
I'm just saying, but like at the end of the day, whoever's like in charge of like whatever is Envy at this point in time, whatever the parent company is at the moment, is still Hex's boss technically, because
Mhm.
Optic is underneath that person. So
You know, I don't think up to this point in the CDL we would have had a roster mania like as big as the one we're about to have after this season. Like there's a lot of good players like in free agency this season. I'm pretty sure. So obviously Pred is off contract after this, and that might be the biggest CDL free agent we've ever seen. Where like one of those top teams
Bags
is
will be
gonna
thrown.
grab him for sure. Bags will be thrown in
Bags will
deep
be
gyms.
thrown.
And then as well, I'm pretty sure Simp and Abizi have an option to leave. I'm pretty sure Envoy has an option to leave, and there's many more past that. So this offseason is going to be very interesting, especially going into a game like the next one we're going to get, where we're pretty confident it's going to be very similar to the one we are currently playing. You know exactly what you're going to get out of these players when it comes to impact-wise, because it's the same game, and there's a lot of them being thrown about. It might get mixy.
It's definitely gonna get mixy because there's like obviously like new teams coming in, there's new money, there's teams with a lot of money that are gonna have free agents. Like all of LA Thieves, I believe, is gonna be like the end of their contracts. So like who they re-sign is gonna be like a complete question mark, and who's gonna be available for them to pick up. Like they can literally make any roster they want to. Like legit, like
Yeah,
anything they
I'm
want.
trying to think of teams that would be able to give Pred the bag. Yeah, Thieves, Optic, FaZe,
There's
New
like 5
York,
teams, and that's it.
There's
I
literally
don't think
5
New York
teams.
can. No, New York can.
Toronto, Minnesota have money. Boston has money. I don't think he'd go to Boston, but like they would.
I
they'd
think the
offer
problem
him.
is though, like we're looking at it in a sense like New York paid Hydra that 500,000 like max sub contract, but the rest of their players aren't getting paid like anywhere near that. And I don't think they can afford another sub player like that, like where they're paying $1 million to 2 players on their roster. I really don't think New York can afford that. And like a team like Boston, can they probably afford it? Yes. Are they going to go out and do that? I highly doubt that as a team that wants to go spend 500,000 on a player. Like I
Yeah.
highly doubt it.
Yeah,
Like,
highly
I'm
depends
curious.
on a lot of the placings at champs too. If Optic come out
Yeah.
and play second again, we'll see. We'll see if they end up making a change. Honestly, if Hook if Hook shits the bed at champs, they probably just get rid of him. It's gonna be like a one event thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how good he's been the rest of the season. Like if he doesn't do good at champs, he's probably gone.
Well, I think the thing with that too is like that kind of makes sense as like messed up as that is, it kind of makes sense specifically because
Yeah.
they know they can get Pred. Like
Mhm.
the issue with Optic at the end of the day is that like legit they know at the end of the day they're probably the front runner for the player, like for Pred. Like Pred already wanted to go to their team, already had the opportunity to go there, and his current org
Yeah.
shut him down, right?
And he is
I think he still wants to go there, especially because of like if he's on that team this year, they're probably winning at least an event, right? Like just straight up. And so, and he knows that, like he knows that's a team he can go to with the talent that's there and just straight up win.
Mhm.
I'm curious if the thought process comes in where it's like Optic could literally win Major 5 and Champs, and there is a question to be had about whether or not you should drop Huke and pick up Pred just so he doesn't go to
Absolutely.
FaZe. Just so he doesn't go to FaZe, because that team would be dangerous. Like,
Give him the
no
Supermax and
doubt
put him
about
on
it.
the bench.
Well,
I mean, you might as well.
see, is it really a bad thing if he goes to FaZe?
Well,
Honestly,
I'm
I
saying
think
from
that's a great
Optic's
thing.
point of view.
Terrible thing.
Do you
listen,
really
listen,
think
listen,
though,
listen,
like
listen.
what
No,
would
no, no,
what
no.
would FaZe
Like,
do though? Like player
drops,
wise, like
drop slasher, move, sell
Yeah,
him to
get
main
Slash
AR, move
Slashes out of
simp,
there.
move simp to.
100%.
you're gonna
So
put Simp on flex? Like is Simp just gonna be like, yeah, sure,
hold on,
put me
hold
on
on, hold on,
flex?
hold on, hold on,
Like
hold on. Wait. You drop slasher, sell him the main, simp to flex, and put Pred as a sub duo with Easy.
Yeah, exactly. Like that would be bad for the rest of the league. Everybody besides FaZe would be happy about that. And that's what I'm saying. Like maybe Optic should think about it. Just if that's the case, of course. I mean, I'm talking like serious hypothetical here, but it's definitely a question to be had.
I also think there's a big thing we got to look at is that Pred is like legitimately like pushing his content now. Like, right? Like he's trying to do YouTube, he's trying to do live streaming and stuff. And like legitimately the two best teams he could possibly get on are Optic and Thieves. And there's like really not like a close third. Like you could say the close third is FaZe, but like Atlanta FaZe and FaZe really don't have a correlation when it comes to content, like at all. Like they really don't do anything
Yeah.
together. And when they do, it's like really small.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I know BZ has been streaming a lot. So Salium has been streaming a lot more. I know on the the Atlanta FaZe YouTube channel, they've been making a lot of group content.
yeah, but like there's a difference though, because if you get to Optic, like you're like immediately they would allow him to do whatever content he wants. They would help him fund content, like do all kinds of crazy stuff, whatever he wants to do. And same thing with Thieves, but Thieves would do it to a whole different level. Like they would give him probably a way bigger budget to like just do some crazy stuff. Whereas like FaZe is legit like what like your teammates stream, whatever. Guess what? You go to Optic, one Optic player has more
Yeah.
viewership than all of the FaZe players combined, doubled. Like
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
even close. Like, if
that
he goes
just
to
comes with the
Optic,
perk.
Pred's gonna be pulling that 10K subs. Like, the amount of extra
It's like
money he
Ghost
can get by being on an Optic or being on a Thieves versus being on any other roster on top of his already, like crazy contract would be insane. Like, we have to look at it from, like, so many different angles outside of just the fact that he's gonna be on a winning team, but also, like, a lot of these players, like, yes, $500,000 a year is a lot of money. How long do you get that money for? And, like, how much money do you need to be able to live your entire life off of the salary you made from playing competitive Call of Duty? Like, you need to try to make money outside of just your salary. Even if it is $500,000 a year, like, you need to make more money than that if you wanna be able to live, like, a crazy lifestyle, like, sustainably.
To be
Yep.
fair, I like Pred's content or his stream, I should say, has been doing pretty well.
Yeah,
With
it's been
where
doing
he's at
great.
right now in Seattle. And if you were to go to FaZe, the bag FaZe would drop for Pred. Like his salary would be just through the freaking roof.
I mean,
And
there's no way a
what's
team's
what's
gonna pay him more than 500,000.
what Scap said, I think as of right now, Pred is prioritizing winning more than content. Pred is a competitor first, content creator second. He's gonna go to the team. He has a higher chance of winning.
You're telling me, though,
Which
you don't
says
think he could make a competitive roster that could beat FaZe week in and week out on an Optic who beats FaZe week in and week out, or on a Thieves who can also beat a FaZe?
why try to join a roster to beat FaZe when you can just join FaZe?
Yeah, but if you join FaZe, you're
FaZe is
automatically
mortal. They suck.
you're pushing one of the better sub players that we've seen in the last, like, 5+ years onto an AR position to put Pred on a sub position on that team. Like, automatically, you're going to a team that's gonna be, like, a little bit weird.
Also, that's a good reminder. If it wasn't for Scump, FaZe Shotzi would have happened.
Mhm.
Just saying.
Hey,
Well, I mean, that's
That
when they
would
were
have been
like
a thing.
really, really bad. You know what I mean? Like they were
yeah.
going through it. I think there is something to be said about like because I see T Morgan in chat. He goes, "Do you guys ever see Shotzi or Dashy leaving Optic?" I'm pretty sure like the reason that Shotzi wanted to leave in the first place was because of like the uncertainty about the whole situation. Like it seemed like Scump was probably gone. Illy had his thumb situation, and then at that point it was kind of like a fire, and he's like, maybe I should just get out of here. But
Yeah.
Scump came back and put out the fire.
There
But
are a lot
now
of
with the
uncertainties.
amount that like Optic looks really solid right now, and it looks like a team that no matter what happens, like they would be a solid squad. So it's like I feel like you're a lot more comfortable if you're Shotzi now than you were at the end of last season.
I also think there's a big part of that that's like, now that Scump is gone from the competing side when it comes to Optic, like, Shotzi's like the guy, and Dashy is like the
True.
guy, right? Like, you're at this point now when you're those players, like, you instantly become the fan favorite in the CDL. Like, maybe you're not the number one, but like you're about as close as you could possibly get, right? And
Also,
there is something to that. Like, there is something to be like that player that whenever people see you, as far as like COD fans is concerned, they're like, that's the guy. And like that's got to mean something to those players. And like for Shotzi,
And
part of the reason why he wanted to leave could have been that like no matter what he did in Optic, as long as Scump was there, like he could never be the guy. Which
mhm.
sounds crazy to say, but people are like that, whether it's like ego or not. Like they're just like in the back of their mind, they're like, damn, like I want to be that guy. Like, but like on FaZe, he probably could have done that because they would have just
You would have been
won
that guy.
everything.
You also gotta remember, um, Dashy, I do not see him leaving Optic anytime soon. You guys don't remember
Yeah,
that retirement video? Gump literally said, like, hey, I'm stepping down
yeah, but
so
like,
you can rise. Like, you cannot leave Optic after that. If you
yeah.
do, rip.
I think
Like,
there's way
your
way
your
more
your
to it than
fan
just
base is
that though.
gone.
Like, but like Dashy legitimately feels like Optic is like his family. Like you can definitely tell through like a lot of the things that he's like done and stuff that like he's probably never going anywhere. Like it's not going to be a situation where like Optic like doesn't give him a contract, and like him getting dropped for all the issues that were happening was basically because like Scump is everything, right? When it comes to like Optic and stuff, like he's literally everything. So like when he wanted, like he probably was like, yo, like Dashy's not doing this, 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 and this. And immediately their reaction was like, oh, let's drop him. Like, cause like it's what Scump needed or wanted, right? And
Mhm.
but like that's never gonna happen again.
they just weren't having success either. So you got at some point you got to try something. Like Dashy's been there the entire time, like while they haven't been having success. So you just got to try something. And whatever rumors were out there about him like never showing up on time and having beef with Rambo, like, okay, so you drop Dashy, but then you end up also getting rid of Rambo and you try something new. Like they're just trying a whole bunch of stuff. They're trying to see what would stick, and they got Ghosty, and Ghosty was literally the glue.
It seems like they found what sticks.
Yeah,
they
clearly
kinda
with Ghosty.
they kind of found their new karma, right? They kind of found
They
their,
did.
like, gadget, like, do-it-all guy.
Yeah.
Like, they needed that, and they found it, like and the nice thing about Ghosty is, like, he has that ability to pop off, it's just not necessary, like, at all.
Yeah.
Like, with, like, the way Hook and Shotzzy are playing as a sub duo, but also you have Dashy, like,
Yeah.
you can
I mean,
literally go
another
toe-to-toe with the most important position, which is, like, the sub position as far as, like, having the best duo in the lobby is, like, the difference in, like, how the entire pacing of an entire lobby, not just a hard point, not just a control, and like the S&D, like everything. You control everything. And then you have Dashy, who can also go one-on-one with any AR in the league. Like, bruh. Like, how are
Yeah.
you supposed to chow that?
I mean, I don't think Ghosty's spot is safe either with Optic. I know he's made a big impact on this team, clearly in game comms or out of game, whatever it might be. But Call of Duty, I mean, it's not super complex, right? And if you're still going to be going around dropping 0.7s every time, like you still need to be able to get kills. So again, if he goes, even if they place like second at Major 5 and Champs, and he drops a 0.7 both times, like still is on the chopping block for sure.
What I will say is he has been playing a lot better. Like
He's been
Yeah,
he did have a really rough first qualifying stage and major with Optic, regardless that, they had that losers run and got back to second. He still wasn't like putting up, like there wasn't any games where it was like, oh, that was a Dan Ghosty series. You know what I mean? Like, and he kind of had that this week against Toronto. And I feel like that's not the only time that's necessarily happened with Dan Ghosty. It's definitely few and far between, but he's definitely been playing more consistent and more he's been getting more kills than he found the first set of weeks that he was with Optic. So that definitely does help his situation, but I still think like public perception is what you're saying, Jims, where it's like, oh, Dan Ghosty, like he's not really getting the kills, but he's doing the right things on the map. You know what I mean? Like people say that, and they think the same way that you do. So that definitely could play a factor if he just has a couple of rough series that change the whole difference.
Yeah, I mean, everyone can talk about Ellie's intangibles, but at the same time, like I think it was Major 2 when he finished the second half of the hard point against LA Thieves, like 1-20 or what, like 4-20,
That was
whatever
so
the heck
bad.
it was.
That was
Like
insanity.
no one could stop talking about that. Like they lost that game by like 10 points. All right, Illy gets like 4 more points or 4 more kills. They probably win that. They probably win that series in that map. It's like at the end of the day, like you can have all the intangibles you want, but you still have to be able to get kills. It's like accuracy, man. Like you still have to be able to get kills.
Well, boys, I love the CDL. We all love the CDL, but we do low key gotta move on.
Oh, we
I
got to
guess
talk about, all right? We can talk about all we
hey,
want.
we can go over to the CRL primer real quick. Let's just go over who won everything there. So we had the silver and bronze, and we had the gold and plat. But moving on over, first of all, we'll just talk about who won, right? So, Jimothy, let's break it down for the boys. I was not here this weekend for the primer because unfortunately Mother's Day hit really hard, right? I had to be gone all day for that. So,
Swag Checked and Co. So Swag Check brought in his team that he actually registered for with the season. And I think 2 of them were asleep, so he had to get 2 more U18 absolute demons into the primary. They make the run. They make the run all the way through losers. They have a really close. They have a really close series with. I believe by winners finals that was 3 or winners semis that was 3/4 of Sin City Slayers that just took second in Diamond. They beat them in a game 5 round 11 to get to the winners finals. They get through winners finals, Mr. Rat and Co. Like no problem. Take it to grands, and again another 3-0 in grands. Like congrats to them. Like I've always seen Swag Check, playing with the Killer Ghost, the Sensei, like those guys. So to see him like bring in a team of his like absolute like his God squad basically was really cool to see. And they're going to be playing in the season, so they're probably a candidate for Diamond going into the fall when they end up placing near the top in Plat. So congrats to them. Second place was Mr. Rat's team, which was, what was it? Him, Degree, Mischief, and remind me
Zephyr.
of the fourth, Zephyr. Two of the green Zephyr, I believe, new to the league, so cool. They end up beating Sin City Slayers in the losers final. So I don't know, just a lot of good competition we really didn't expect to have going into this primer, and now I'm really excited to see how a couple of those teams are going to go out and play during the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to see like how these teams are stacking up, and you always see those diamond teams like sign up for the primer, and you're like, ooh, like what if a plat team beats a diamond team? And that's exactly what happened today.
Like you last season.
What do you mean me last season? I didn't play in with a diamond squad, but we won. But anyways, I feel like the Sin City Slayers, like they probably could have won, but with 3/4 of the roster, I mean, when your bread and butter is search and destroy, it's definitely a lot harder to win search and destroys when you don't have the full roster come into play. I feel like that's kind of part of what happened. You'll definitely see them play solid in the season no matter what. But yeah, Swag Check playing absolutely fantastic. They were looking great. I saw them playing grand finals. They were just vibing out, having a good time, getting kills. Those U18ers are definitely a force to be reckoned with, no doubt about it. And yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense, Jims, that one of Swag Check's teammates like wasn't around for the primer, because I went in his chat afterward and he told me that one of his boys that he signed up with for pre-made is in the UK. So it makes a little bit more sense now. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, those guys were frying from start to finish, no doubt about it.
No, shout
They
out.
got a gunny on them for sure.
Absolutely.
Shout out the gold plat, but now we're gonna move on over to the silver and bronze. Let's break it down, Jimothy. What do we got? Well, the dogs are going wild on you. Not anymore, I guess, but they were.
Well, yeah, one of the dogs is going crazy and it's crate in the other room, unfortunately. Winner of that one was a total pickup squad. I have mixed feelings about that because I like to see these squads like sign up as a team, go into the league as a full team, but they're just a straight up pickup squad. It was trying to find, who was it again? It was Manitoba. I'm trying to look at the roster. I know it was Oh Brave, Toby, Psychotic Pig, and Dax brother Anderson. Anderson now back-to-back silver bronze primer champion. I need to kick him out of the next one, up to plat gold. But he took it home, and that was cool to see.
I mean, those primers are always a vibe. It's such a long haul. I feel like they used to be longer back in the day, but I mean, still we're looking at the bracket right now, and that is just so many matches being played. Like,
remember when we used to
all
cast
happens
them?
in one day. I mean, that's a lot of Call of Duty.
Yeah, I remember when we used to cast those from start to finish. We'd run production for like 12 hours. Yeah, that was crazy. I think another really cool thing to talk about for this tournament was I think we had the first ever, like, usually the free agent teams do not do that well, like maybe top 4, top 6. No, we had a free agent team run it all the way up to grand finals. That was Denver. They went through a couple different iterations throughout the course of the tournament, so I don't exactly remember who their final roster was in grand finals, but I know it's like Livestock, Kib, Gallium, a couple of those guys. So free agent team ran it up to the grand finals. Unfortunately, the grand finals, it wasn't too close of a matchup, but they made it.
TNK Dapper. This might be the only primers of all time that none of the 4 of us have signed up for. Like, I didn't sign up for a primer. I know CNK didn't. I know Dapper probably didn't. Like, it's a different time in the CRL these days.
I think this is the first primer since I joined the CRL that I have not played in.
Yeah, I think I've only played in 3 or 4. I do want to
3
get
or
back
4 is
into
still
it
a
though.
lot.
So if anyone's looking for a primer teammate next season in specifically the silver bronze division, let me know.
Sounds like Cap to me.
What do you mean?
I also want to shout out Kylo in the chat. His team, he signed up with his full squad that's going to be playing in the season, and he ended up placing top 4 in the plat gold primer. So happy to see him do well. I know you signed up for gold. I'm putting your butt in the plat. Sorry about that. I'll let you know now.
Got him, bro.
Yeah, you can compete in plat. I'm telling you. So
You'll kill it.
So shout out him. Top 4 finish, solid placing.
Well, I guess wrapping up the primer there, but Let's move on over to total team signups for the season. We only got a couple hours left of signups, so make sure you get signed up if you want to get signed up for the league. Get on over there to the website, get your boys all signed up. Make sure all 4 are signed up, or you're probably not going to make it. But Jim,
Yeah.
so what are we looking like numbers wise right now, anyway?
Yeah, first of all, go check out the announcements in the CRL server. They're going to tell you how to make sure that you are registered for the upcoming season. Okay, as of recording this, they close in 2 hours. So I guess YouTube watchers, they're already going to be closed. So sorry about that.
Well, rip you, dude, rip you. Hey, that's on
But,
you for not watching live.
but total signups. One thing that myself and Shio learned from last season is we can't like stretch out the signups as much as we want to because it leaves a lot of holes in the league for teams that might be dropping out or just completely no show. So we want to be a little bit more conservative with the signups this time around. So it ended up being 100, or as it stands right now. Maybe a couple last minutes are coming in. As it stands right now, I think it's 175 total
Good
signups,
grief.
Wow.
which is down just a little bit from last season. But I think the plan right now is we're accepting 144 of those teams.
Mm.
Ooh.
So
Gotta make sure your squad of
Yeah.
4 is locked in, right? I'm assuming that's
Yeah.
all locked in, right? All those teams are locked in.
Yes. So it's like we have 159 confirmed signups with 4 teams that have accepted their invites, and we have another 16 that have not accepted all their invites.
Mm.
So that's so those 16 are just automatically cut. You're gone because you didn't follow
Dang.
the basic instructions of signups like we had asked you to.
That's tough.
So goodbye.
That is tough.
But the breakdown right now is looking like we're gonna have 8 iron teams. We're gonna have 16 bronze teams. We're still gonna have 4 whole divisions for silver. So we're looking at 64 for silver, 2 gold divisions, 16 plat, and tentatively 4 diamond right now. That's the way it's looking right now, but that could still shift a little bit.
I mean, you love to see it. High turnout for signups.
Yeah,
mean, couldn't ask for
when
anything
the
more,
game's
right?
kind of dying. Historically,
Yeah.
summer is our biggest season for signups. Like CCL will end, teams are still looking for something to go play in, so they find us, they come play. Not this time. It's seemingly the game is kind of dying a little bit early with champs coming so soon. I think people are
Mhm.
fed up with the game. It's not getting a lot of support. It hasn't really changed. There's a lot of cheese in the game. No one really wants to deal with it anymore. There's a lot of other games coming out. You know, Valorant's popping off. CS:GO 2 is coming out soon. So X Defiant coming out soon. So people are just getting a taste of other games, and they're kind of dropping Call of Duty a little early. And that said, it's not like signups are down a
They were not down a
whole
lot.
I mean, we're going from about 190 from last season down to 175. So it's not a terrible loss.
You said that summer's normally our biggest season. What was the summer signups like for the Vanguard summer? Do you remember? If I remember correctly, it's around like 120 or something. Am I wrong?
If I remember right, it was 108. But
That's
that was
crazy.
from spring to summer. That was like a plus 30 team swing, and at the time, that was
No
our highest.
way.
At the time, that was our high. Our record for signups was Vanguard summer until winter of MW2. It was like winter and then spring and summer. So spring did not break that record, and that's going to be a tough record to break. Is 188 from last season. So
I remember like Vanguard Summer, like 108 teams signed up. We were like, wow, that's a lot of teams. And then like Winter MW2, we're like, oh my god, that's a
my
lot
goodness,
of teams. And then this season, it was even more that
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, the league is growing. We saw a lot of Discord joinings over the beginning of those couple months of MW2. So I mean, I said it last week as well. It's fun to see the league grow as always, and hopefully this is the best season ever.
I think since MW2 came out, we have gotten about, I want to say about 3,000, 3,500 new Discord members,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around that ballpark. Like, it has been insane. I think we're just sitting around like 8,500, somewhere around that.
That's not
large
half bad.
large part of that due to large part of that due to the 8s that were popping in here at the start of the
We're
game.
popping.
So,
Shout out eights.
mhm.
I feel like there's like, I mean, one of the things that killed the game is so obvious, and it's ranked play being just not good. But not because ranked is bad, but because of the hackers. And now there's the new problem with if you leave the game, like if someone on the other team leaves the game right before it ends, the game will just end. So there's ranked play, and then loudness EQ is also a huge problem. But
Yeah.
maybe we get dead silence next year. How about that, everybody? I mean, I would give a round of
What's that?
applause for Sledgehammer for bringing in dead silence into the game as
What's
a
that
perk.
silence?
I mean, if they would put in dead silence and red dots, that would move them from number 3 on my list to number 2, right under Treyarch. And then IW is just kind of like way down here.
Messed up, bro. It's messed up.
I don't even need red dots. Like, I like red dots, but I can live without them. I cannot live currently without Ninja in the game. I mean,
Yes.
in Vanguard, you had the perk and you could use the field upgrade. I mean, you were quiet.
I have very choice words to say about IW, but I cannot say them here on stream.
Yeah,
Because
it's probably
James would
better
be
you don't.
very mad at me if I did.
We have a strong no cursing policy on this stream, Dapper. I hope you know.
Oh, trust me, I know.
He knows.
Just got to keep it to a minimum. I'm not saying none, but you got to keep it to a minimum. It's hard when it's just in your vocabulary. It's hard to keep it out for an hour.
I mean, changing up the none rule, Gyms, that's a slippery slope. I won't lie.
It is.
It's
You
like
can't
we're
really
going to be
have a
dropping one
great
here and there, and then 2 weeks from now, it's going to be just all the time. But this week is also Halo Championships. Am I mistaken?
You are not mistaken. We are heading into championship week for Halo. We're going to have matches Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if you are a Halo fan out there, go make sure to tune into twitch.tv/Halo Rec League. That is our sister league over there in the Halo side. And those matches are bound to be sick. Are bound to be fantastic. So
Oh, they are. I think Halo's coming into the competitive eyes yet again after Call of Duty season is kind of wrapping up. People are more focused on Halo Optic now. Apparently, there's beef between them and SSG. I forget.
Oh, man.
Dapper, was it you that was telling me about how it was breaking down?
Okay. So, the way the HCS season is structured, right? They have their first LAN, and they have 6 online qualifiers between their first LAN and the second LAN. Optic has won the first LAN. They won 3 online qualifiers, got second place in one, third place in another, and then 5th place at the last one. Now, they were sitting at 63,000 HCS points, which is like pro points for COD.
Okay.
The second place team, which was FaZe, is sitting at 53,000. The third place team is sitting at 30K. Now, because Optic placed 5th at the last qualifier, they do not get the first or second seed. Their points do not matter. The first seed went to the winner of the last qualifier, and the second seed went to the second place.
Why is that? So, like, do the first and second qualifier just not matter? Do they give a reasoning as to why that's the case? Because I feel like inherently that just sounds like it doesn't make any sense. Like, how can HCS like say that that's correct?
HCS likes to do this thing where they make decisions that make absolutely no sense. It's quite a common concept here within Call of Duty. So it just kind of carries over to Halo. No one knows why. No one will ever understand why. Why have points if you're not going to use them? I mean, SSG is in first place, not first place. They have the first seed going to the LAN when they should realistically be in the 7th or 8th seed based off their points. But why have points? No matter.
Hey,
they just don't matter.
Do not matter at all.
That's what we've learned today. Well, do we also have Valorec signups, or is the season like about to start, Jim? Can you give us kind of a rundown?
the season will actually be starting like on Tuesday. Like literally
Oh,
tomorrow it starts. They
Tomorrow.
have the Yeah, tomorrow it's starting. You've got, some matchups on stream right off the bat, that 8:30 matchup time, the 10:30 that's Eastern time, so 7:30 Central, and, 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. Gotta always hit that one in there. But, got a couple good matches in there. There's not as many teams as maybe previous seasons, but that's just because it's another short season, another test season. But the season following will be a full season, so things will get pretty exciting after that. But,
Mhm.
that's gonna be starting this week, so it should be pretty exciting. Make sure you check out the Halo Rec League streams for the finals, and make sure you check out Valor Rec just to see the regular season get kicked back off.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, it's going to be exciting. Oh wait, what were you say, James?
I say we're because we have so few teams in this final test season. We're being a little bit more aggressive with how we're delegating the divisions. So hopefully things will be even more competitive this season. But that remains to be seen. It's been tough trying to balance divisions so far. There's a lot of people on alts that we just have no way of knowing, and a lot of people that haven't played Valorant in a long time. People like me that have like 2,000 hours in CS:GO, but I don't play Valorant. Like I could still come in and play really well. Just got a lot of people like that too. So
I would like to say I am a tactical shooter pro. You know, Gold Nova 1 in CS while Bronze 3 in Valorant. Amazing.
Almost silver, Dapper. You
Well,
you can get there. I believe in you.
okay, I feel like I could be a lot higher than Bronze if I actually just played competitive. I played my placement matches months ago and just never touched competitive Valorant again.
Oh, come on.
yes,
Comp is the
Snoop
I'm
best. Is the
sorry.
best part.
Snoop carrying you, bro.
See, CS:GO has me in a chokehold right now.
Ah, boo.
I
I need to
hey,
take it
I
with
have I
CS:GO
have
again.
gotten pretty decent at CS.
Then you're going to be good at Val.
Okay, that's the funny part. Um, so I'd be playing CS:GO with Shio, Matt, Brendy, and everybody else that comes by and plays. Dak too. Dak recently just started playing with us, but after a night of playing CS:GO and hopping over to Valorant, Valorant just seems so easy. Like I don't know what it is. Like Valorant is it just seems so simple.
Well, you also are
Minus the
getting
abilities.
more reps. You're getting more reps on another shooter, first of all. But where Valorant really separates itself is not like pointing and clicking; it's all the abilities and stuff.
Yeah, I mean the gunplay in Valorant is just it feels so much easier. I don't know why. It's just everything just feels a lot bigger compared to CS:GO. But you're right, like the abilities, sets the game apart from CS:GO and the other tactical shooters. And like if you're a CS:GO player hopping to Valorant, learning the abilities, there is definitely a curve to it. Because I am a fade one trick. I don't know how to play anybody else. I just throw my eye and hope for the best.
A breach one trick.
Yes.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I'm just playing
I,
KJ right now, that's about it.
And like
I
every
feel
time
like
we needed like someone to fill a certain agent, that's Matt's job. Matt just oh you need this person to be played. All right, Matt, have fun. Go learn this person. You got
Go
like
get.
10 minutes.
I mean,
Well,
Valorant's a lot of fun. What were you gonna say, CNK?
I just had to say I gotta go. So, speaking of Valorant, I gotta go play in the premiere because it's like an hour early tonight. So that's pog, mainly because it's Monday instead of Saturday. But you know how it is. It's pretty fun. So, anyone have any closing things you want to say before I wrap this one up on us?
Well, I think it was a good podcast today.
Good.
Very productive.
Nice chats, and not much to talk about today, but we made the best of it. I'm sure next week we'll have a lot more to talk about. We'll get the finale to the Will Vegas Qualify movie. But Jim's Dapper, anything to say before we go?
I'm
No, that's
good.
it for me.
Thank you guys for joining tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pood is over. Make sure you check out the Halo Rec League matches happening this week. And if you've watching this on YouTube, they're already done. So you have to go to Twitch and watch the VODs. But same thing with the Valor Rec matches. You have to watch those via VODs as well. But if you are in this chat now, make sure you check out the matches Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for Halo, because we actually do have matches on Tuesday that aren't the free-for-all finals, which is POG, by the way. That was a good time last week. And yeah, hey, thank you very much for tuning into the episode 3. Episode 4 will be next week at the same time. So make sure you tune back in.
See you, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.